Welcome to Honeybee, real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. My name is Alan. The sound of a key sliding into the lock at 3 a.m. should have been reassuring when it was my fiancée returning from where she said she'd been. But instead, it became the beginning of the worst night of my life, one that ended our engagement just 4 months before we were supposed to say I do. Jennifer and I had been together for 3 years before we got engaged. 3 years, I believe, we're building towards something lasting and beautiful. We met in a little downtown coffee shop where she sat grading papers. Jennifer was a 4th grade teacher at Lincoln Elementary. I had complimented her perfectly organized grade book, and somehow that small moment grew into a relationship I thought would carry me through forever. Our time together seemed to have all the makings of a solid future. We shared the same outlook on family, work, and the kind of life we wanted to create together. Jennifer was bright, compassionate, and had this contagious laugh that could lift my spirits even after grueling days at work. I worked as a project supervisor for a mid-sized construction firm, handling residential builds across the metro area. The unpredictable hours and physical demands had ended more than one past relationship, but Jennifer seemed to understand what my job required in ways no one else ever had. She didn't complain when I worked late or when weekend emergencies stole me away. She'd pack me lunches, send encouragement by text during difficult projects, and always seemed genuinely invested in hearing about my work challenges and achievements. When I proposed on the 3rd anniversary of our first date, back at that same coffee shop where we first met, her tearful yes felt like confirmation that we were meant for each other. We set our wedding for the following spring, choosing a date far enough away to plan properly, but soon enough to avoid a long wait before starting our life together. The engagement period was everything I had dreamed of. We'd spend hours talking about our future, looking at houses, imagining how many children we wanted, and where we'd raise them. Jennifer dove into wedding planning with the same methodical energy she used in her classroom. Spreadsheets, schedules, detailed checklists. Everything ran smoothly under her direction. We agreed to keep living separately until after the wedding. Her 1-bedroom bungalow in the Riverside district suited her single lifestyle and was only minutes from her school, while my apartment downtown was closer to the construction projects I oversaw. Both spaces were practical for one person, but cramped for two. The arrangement made sense. It allowed us to save on expenses while setting aside money for the wedding and the larger home we intended to rent together afterward. Searching for that house had become one of our major shared projects. We toured 3-bedroom homes with 2-car garages in family-oriented neighborhoods, picturing how we grow into the space, decorate, and eventually raise kids there. It was fun, dreaming out loud, imagining the little details of the life we'd build together. Our usual rhythm was spending alternating weekends at each other's places. It gave us time together while also leaving space for independence before marriage. It worked well for a while, but around 4 months before the wedding, Jennifer began to change. At first, it was subtle. She declined staying over at my place, saying she had too much schoolwork or that wedding tasks were overwhelming. That sounded reasonable, and I knew planning a wedding was exhausting. But gradually, she began canceling more weekend plans, citing unexpected school responsibilities. Jennifer was a dedicated teacher, so I didn't think much of it at first. Still, the pattern became harder to ignore. She wasn't making the effort to prioritize our time like before, where she once rearranged things to make room for us. She now seemed to use obligations as excuses to keep her distance. When I offered to help, she brushed me off, insisting she had to manage everything herself. Her communication shifted to Jennifer, who used to text me regularly with warmth and personality, now sent fewer, shorter, colder messages. Our phone calls became quick and practical, stripped of the closeness we'd always shared. She seemed distracted, often multitasking or ending calls abruptly. I started to feel like I was losing the woman I was about to marry. When I asked directly if everything was okay, she dismissed my concerns, claiming it was just a busy season that would soon pass. But her social media told another story. She had time for outings and events she never mentioned to me. When I brought them up, she brushed them off as work functions or last-minute invites with friends. The breaking point came one Friday night, about 3 months before the wedding. I had finished work early and thought I'd surprise her with takeout from her favorite restaurant. When I arrived at her house around 7 p.m., her car was gone and the place was dark. Using my key, I let myself in. I called her, expecting she'd be home later. She answered sounding breathless, background noise buzzing like she was in a crowd. She told me she had rushed to Springfield because her aunt had been hospitalized. Her story sounded believable. Family emergencies happen. I told her I understood and wished her aunt well. She thanked me, said she didn't know when she'd be back, but would update me. I didn't tell her I was sitting in her living room. Something felt off, but I chose to trust her. Instead of driving home, I stayed. I ate the food alone, then decided to spend the night there, waiting, hoping she'd call with updates. But no messages came. By midnight, I was uneasy. By 3 a.m., my fears were confirmed. I heard the key turn in the door. Jennifer stepped inside, and when she saw me standing there, her face went pale, frozen like she'd seen a ghost. Before I could speak, a man's voice behind her asked casually, "Babe, who's that?" In that instant, everything unraveled. She hadn't been in Springfield with her family. She had been with another man, one comfortable enough to call her Babe. Jennifer stood speechless, caught between me and him, unable to explain. She was wearing a revealing dress I'd never seen before, clearly dressed for a night out. The betrayal was undeniable. This wasn't a mistake or a lapse in judgment. It was a deliberate, sustained deception. All those excuses about work, stress, and obligations had been covered for her affair. I didn't wait for daylight. I gathered my things. She tried to stop me, reaching out as I passed, but I avoided her touch. As I left, I walked past a man, confused, awkward, realizing too late the damage his presence signified. I left knowing there would be no wedding, no future together. The woman I thought I'd spend my life with wasn't who I believed she was. In the following days, Jennifer bombarded me with calls, texts, even showing up at my apartment and job. Her explanations shifted constantly, contradictory, full of half-truths. She claimed the other man wasn't serious, that it was just a friendship gone too far, that she'd end it if I gave her another chance. But the lies about her aunt, the months of distance, the intimacy with that man, it all proved otherwise. She downplayed it, insisting we could work through it, that things would change after marriage. But my decision never wavered. Her systematic dishonesty revealed a side of her character I could never overlook. Breaking off the engagement was agonizing. Canceling the venue, informing guests, returning gifts, each step was a painful reminder of the life we planned and lost. Returning the engagement ring was the hardest. It had cost me months of savings, symbolizing commitment that no longer existed. I exchanged it at the jeweler for a watch, a personal reminder that I had avoided marrying someone unworthy of my trust. The emotional fallout lasted much longer. Betrayal at that level leaves deep scars. I sought therapy, learning that Jennifer's lies reflected her own flaws, not any failure of mine. Counseling helped me see that her ability to compartmentalize and deceive was something I couldn't have prevented. Some people are simply skilled at hiding who they really are. The biggest lesson I learned was that normal relationship struggles can be worked through, but deep character flaws, like calculated dishonesty, cannot. If I hadn't discovered her betrayal before the wedding, it would have destroyed the marriage eventually. Looking back, I'm strangely grateful that the truth surfaced when it did. That sound of the key turning at 3 a.m., what should have been comforting, became the moment my future changed. Painful as it was, it saved me from a far greater disaster. That night taught me that sometimes the most life-altering truths are revealed in the split second between a key and the lock and discovering who's really standing on the other side. Jennifer wasn't who I thought she was. And as devastating as that realization was, it spared me from making the biggest mistake of my life,